teacher evaluations in this larger issue of finding a way to weed out the low performers and terminate them if they're not doing their job.
Right.
That a lot of people say, look, this is what a lot of these discussions come down to. We have a system where we cannot, in a timely or cost-effective way, remove ineffective teachers from the classroom. I mean, Rick, would you say that this is what the whole teacher evaluation push at the end of the day is about?
Yeah, I think in large part. And I think it's been driven by the fact, and again, much like with the problems with district giveaways in terms of benefits and restrictions, that reformers have gotten into this habit of scapegoating unions while letting feckless school boards and superintendents off the hook. I think, once again, this is a case of that. If you look at the new teacher project widget work, for instance, and we see 99% of teachers being evaluated as satisfactory, that is not on the unions. That is on the fact that we have timid, tepid, feckless management in the school leadership posts and in the superintendency who are failing at their first obligation, which is to identify ineffective educators and either see that they improve or that they are no longer in front of classrooms. When reformers then throw this all on the unions, I think, A, they're mistaken. B, I would love to see, I do think that unfortunately the AFT and NEA then wind up sharing some of the culpability, because I would like to see them calling out feckless school leaders and superintendents, and I don't think they do so. And I think that is because there is too often a convenient Horace's compromise among school boards, among superintendents, among principals, and among teachers, in which everybody agrees that nobody shall be called to account. And I think in that way, everybody winds up owning responsibility. But sure, so as we talk about teacher evaluation systems, there's really two ways to go about it. One is, to me, a robust, sensibly articulated system in which we are building a lot of room for managerial judgment, in which we are taking into account full evaluation, including how much they contribute to their teams on which they work, in which we are rigorously and systematically soliciting information on whether they're responding promptly and supportively to parental queries and parental needs. But unfortunately, I think policymakers are deeply concerned that they can't trust school or district leaders to make good or responsible judgments. And we've heard from the unions that they're concerned that school leaders are going to make politicized or capricious judgments. So what we've wound up with is, to my mind, a problematic compromise, which is relatively simplistic, one-size-fits-all state-level evaluation systems, which turn very heavily on simple value-added calculations. I don't think anybody thinks this is a particularly good or elegant solution. It just seems to me the one solution that where we default to, because because few people like the status quo, and nobody seems to be in a position where they're comfortable trusting the judgment of school leaders.
So, Randy, let me ask on specifics. So we have here in the District of Columbia the impact system. I think everybody would admit it's not perfect. We're still in early days. It needs to be tweaked. But it has led to hundreds of teachers losing their jobs. And there's a sense, I think, among the greater community that, okay, we finally have accountability in D.C. public schools. We have teachers who were failing kids for a long time, and something's happened to them. So what's wrong with that?
So frankly, as my understanding is that the last superintendent, or the second to last, the superintendent before Michelle Rhee, Chris Janey, or is that his name? Cliff Janey, actually fired more teachers than the impact system has done. And yet that factoid never gets out there. So, but let's take this back. First off, evaluation systems have been broken for a lot of the reasons that that Rick said before, which is it's really hard to actually fire people. And so what happens is people don't, and they blame something else. They'll blame tenure, they'll blame other things. It's hard. It's a hard thing to do. And
you mean it's hard in that people don't like to do it?
It's hard because people don't like to do it.
Okay.
People don't like to look somebody else in the eyes and say, you're fired.
Or you're doing a lousy job.
Or you're doing a lousy job.